Ever since the start of Generation 9, when we got to see all the new items in the game, the item I was most excited for in this game was Punching Glove. I thought Punching Glove was a really niche item that wasn't going to be good on very many Pokemon, but it was a sort of fun idea for an item, and I thought it would be fun on certain Pokemon to be able to use. So I really wanted to see if we could get any Pokemon that would be good with Punching Glove. And at the beginning, you look at Punching Glove Electros with Coil 3 punches, and that's fine and all, but I want a good Pokemon that can use Punching Glove. And the one Pokemon that was promised to me that was supposed to be really good with Punching Glove was Urshifu. And Urshifu gets Surging Strikes, and Surging Strikes, despite the name, is actually a punching move. It also gets Drain Punch if that's how you want to run things. And you have Thunder Punch on it as well. So, that's pretty cool. Now, in case you've forgotten what Punching Glove does, Punching Glove increases the power of punching moves by 10%, and it prevents contact with the targets done by those moves. So you're not going to take static from Zapdos, which is usually the main one you think of. You're not going to take Flame Bodies from Heatran. Maybe if they're just sacking Heatran, try to get the burn on you. You don't take Rough Skin from Garchomp. You don't take Rocky Helmet from Corviknight. It's basically protective pads, but now you get 10% increase to damage as well. So you look at that and say, hey, protective pads Urshifu in Gen 8 was a pretty common set to run if you weren't running Bandit or the occasional Scarf. And this could be really cool because now it's just an upgrade. Of course, it doesn't protect you on Aqua Jet or U-Turn, so you do have to watch out for that. But aside from that, this could be at least a side grade to the protective pads Urshifu set. So I was playing a game recently, and it wasn't a very serious game. It was really low ladder. My opponent didn't really have the best team. But I led off with Urshifu because they really had nothing for it on my opponent's team. And I was able to set up pretty quickly and just start blowing through their team. They go out to Toxapex, and the Toxapex is able to get off a Toxic because somehow it lives. And then the next turn they decided to Baneful Bunker. The problem is that when I go for Baneful Bunker, my ability doesn't proc. And in case you've forgotten, Urshifu has Unseen Fist. Unseen Fist says that if I make contact with you, then my moves will break through Protect or Baneful Bunker, any of those kinds of moves. I think the one exception is Max Guard. It would not have broken through Max Guard unless I was Gigantamax Urshifu, in which case I would have. So I was really confused by this. So I asked around and come to find out that Punching Glove, let's go back to the definition of Punching Glove. It increases the power of punching moves by 10%. Okay, that's fine. It prevents contact with targets done by those moves. So my Surging Strikes, my Thunder Punch, whatever, it's not doing contact with my opponent. Now, Unseen Fist only works on contact moves. Therefore, if I hold the Punching Glove, I'm not making contact with any of my punching moves, and I can't get the ability Unseen Fist to be helpful at all. Now, let's compare that to Protective Pads. Protective Pads is different because all Protective Pads does is ignore the effects of contact, right? So it's going to ignore the Rocky Helmet, it's going to ignore the static, but you are still making contact with the opposing Pokemon with Protective Pads. So there's a big difference here. So really, for Urshifu, what you're getting with a Punching Glove is you are getting the effect of Protective Pads, but you're losing your Unseen Fist. You're basically giving up your ability and saying that my Urshifu no longer has an ability. Because for U-Turn and Aqua Jet, I guess technically Unseen Fist will come into play, but on those moves you're also risking Static or Burn or Rocky Helmet. And especially on U-Turn, that's something you are going to have to worry about constantly, right? I'm going to see my opponent has a Zapdos or a Corviknight in the back. I don't want to get Static, and I don't want to lose momentum against the Corviknight. well, I guess I'm going to switch now via U-turn to scout and see what my opponent wants to do. Well, the punching glove doesn't protect me there, so that's already not good. If I decide to go for surging strikes or whatever, then I will get the power boost and I won't get static or burned or take Rocky Helmet chip. And that's fine. That's good. That's what we wanted to do. And in those instances, it is superior to the protective pads just because you get the 10% extra power boost. But if your opponent has Baneful Bunker, like this Toxapex does, and like some Toxapexes are running currently, then you actually lose your Unseen Fist ability. And this really makes me mad. Okay, I can't express how mad I am. This has been a few days since I actually played this battle, and I still can't stop thinking about this battle because I was waiting so long for Urshifu to come out because people said, hey, Urshifu's going to be great with this new punching glove item. And then it comes to find out that it makes the ability of your Pokemon no longer a thing for all intents and purposes. And it's not like necessarily Urshifu had the biggest use case for Unseen Fist anyway. Most of the time, your opponent's not using Protect in singles. But in the few instances where they were, it was known and understood that Urshifu will ignore King's Shield. It'll ignore Baneful Bunker or Spiky Shield. So you're gonna have to respond accordingly. But if you know that your opponent has Punching Glove, then you know that they can't affect you without using like U-turn or Aqua Jet, I suppose, which takes a lot of pressure off your opponent and really nullifies one of the main reasons to use Urshifu, which is to force stall to attack or switch. But yeah, that's just a quick short video today talking about how mad I am about Punching Glove and how this item I was waiting to use on Urshifu turns out is not as good as it should have been. The 10% boost is nice off of punching moves, I guess. It does mean that you have a good chance to 2-hit KO Zapdos with Surging Strikes, whereas if you were using protective pads, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. It's still a roll, but it's a lot more in your favor with the 10% boost. But the 10% boost really shouldn't be the reason to use an item. Otherwise, people would use Wise Glasses on all of their special attackers. And we know that nobody's ever once thought the Wise Glasses was a good item, and if they did, then they're not a serious battler. So the Punching Glove being super weak already, 10%, that's not a good percentage boost. It doesn't even stack with Iron Fist. That's really a bad item. I think they should have made it so that at least it would just ignore contact effects and you would still make contact with your opponent. Alright, that'll be it for me today. I'll catch you guys next time.